Thanks for checking out this video on how to create a script for a news show. Normally, this video can only be seen if you're a member of my Patreon, but today, you can see it in full, for free. Joining Patreon only costs $2 per month, which in Australia is less than a coffee. If you do enjoy it, please consider joining. Otherwise, give it a big thumbs up. G'day guys, it's Chris, and well, thank you to my awesome Patreons for supporting me and my channel because, well, producing YouTube content of quality is not a cheap thing to do. And well, look, Casey Neistat said you can just use your mobile phone, and I've used my mobile phone, and it's very possible. But that said, in terms of doing something that looks like it's newsworthy and authoritative and worthy of your time, because let's face it, I believe that per day there's millions of hours uploaded to YouTube. In fact, not per day, per hour. And you know, for you to come and watch this, I really do appreciate it. And I like to think that it's because the stuff that I bring to you, there's information around, you know, renewables, EVs and the like for Australian and, you know, well, as I say, sometimes around the world, but also that it's concise and to the point, and it doesn't ramble on forever. And so, you know, I've got my own way of doing news and content, and it's not always the best way, I know that. But that said, you know, having you guys support me on Patreon, I really awesomely do appreciate it. Like, gosh, awesomely. Is that really even a word? Not really, but nonetheless. This video and well, these series of videos are going to be about how I create an episode of Renewable News and how I do other types of content on the channel as well. So if this is something that interests you, welcome. I hope I make this interesting for you. And this is going to be very, very informal, no script, which as you're about to learn, I typically kind of use. Kind of. All right, so first up, this is my studio. Welcome. I'll do a quick little scoot around in a second with some B-roll. Now, B-roll, for those who don't know, basically means that it's secondary footage that doesn't involve the primary story. So right here, right now, this is A-roll, and then when you cut away to other stuff that sort of cuts it up and makes it interesting, that's B-roll. And this studio is basically, you know, any type of study in any house. It's in my house. And to get it to this point, I've spent, well, probably way too much money, but that'll be in other videos, and I'll talk you through all the equipment in this space and how I use it. And hopefully, if you're inspiring little YouTuber yourself, or you want to get into this sort of video production, you can borrow. Definitely borrow. That's what I do. You know, you looked at what someone else has done and go with it. All right, so how do I create a renewable news episode? Well, it all starts way back with the source, and the source is generally Twitter, kind of Reddit, Facebook forums, and Gmail alerts, like Google alerts. All right, so I'm going to step you through some of these now, and I'll set up a recording on my screen so you can see exactly what these things look like, and you know how you might be able to do the same type of content as well. Because you know what, doing this type of show, hopefully we can get more people out there talking about it, and the more people know, the better off we'll all be. All right, absolutely. All right, let's turn the screen. This is a Google alert. If you don't know about them, all you have to simply do is, you know, on Google, go to Google Alerts. All right, and all you simply do here is you do a search, make sure it's sort of the thing that you would like to learn more about. So let's say you want to learn more about Tesla, okay? So in here, we'll write in Tesla, and it does a little bit of a preview as to what the content's going to look like when it's sent it to your inbox. And, oh wow, once again, we've got Tesla killers are coming. They're coming in 2022, let's face it. Once you're happy with it, all right, you put in your email address there, and you can say, okay, I want this once a day. Well, as it happens, more than once a week, so on and so forth. And this comes direct to my inbox, and so I've got two different Google Alerts. One is for renewables, and one of them is for stop. My phone thinks I did the alert, the Google thingy. Shush, stop. Sorry about that.
I'll be so quiet.
Oh, she said she'll be quiet. Google's funny sometimes. Anyway, so I've got two different emails. One's called renewables, and that's all about, you know, solar power, hydro, all that sort of stuff, wind. And the other one is about electric vehicles. And these alerts that I get every day, you know, come direct to my inbox. And what I do is I scour them, trying to look for something that I think is, well, interesting to me first and foremost. And then secondly, does it pertain to Australia? And unfortunately, you know, as you know, in Australia, there's not a lot of renewable things going on sometimes. And well, that's when I moved to like forums such as, you know, the Tesla forums in Australia. What else? Reddit's a good source. Twitter is also a great one as well. And anything on there that I like, plus these stories, I tweet them. And look, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I'm kind of very active over there. I put 2, 3, 4, 5 stories up per day. And one of them, or some of them, or most of them, will actually end up in an episode of Renewable News. The idea is that I use it to kind of track what I think is interesting. And then when I'm preparing a script or a show, I then look back on the week or 2 weeks, depending on how long the last episode was, and I'll pull out the ones that I think are interesting. And so that way, you know, one, I've already done the reading on the article, and then two, when you reread it the second time, new things come out, which is always a good thing. And then you have to go look for other information that maybe supports an argument or an actual fact rather. And you know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to give too much opinion. Of course, that's always interesting, no matter who you subscribe to. It's good to hear what they think is good or bad about a particular subject. But that said, first and foremost, news, factual source, absolute information, and then balance that with a little bit of editorial. So after I've got, you know, Google Alerts sorted out, I've been through the usual social media platforms. The other thing that I also do, and you can do this too if you want to, is you ask to be a media contact, a media partner with like different car companies, for instance. So let me just find one from Hyundai. In fact, actually, I'll show you on here. So you would do like Hyundai. Oh, there it goes. Let's go Hyundai Newsroom. Hyundai Newsroom. There we go. All right. So to be a media partner, all you have to do is jump onto the different, you know, car makers' websites, find the media link. It's not normally on the normal web page for them. You have to Google search it, and that can be very, very hard to find. And then you fill out a form, and that form asks you everything. Who are you? What social channels do you have? How many people are your subscribers? What's your URL? All that sort of jazz. And more often than not, car companies are very happy to onboard you and give you the access to the media content, because after all, it's just another form to actually get the information out there. And that way you get the news releases, you get access to the photos and videos and all the other jazz. So it's very handy. So, you know, like when you see me in the EV news episode, and over on that side of the screen or that side, depending on how I've got the room set up, I have a little picture there, or I have some video running, and that hopefully has actually come directly from that source. And, you know, I always reference it, but nonetheless, it's there, and I think it creates something interesting. And you know, in the early days when I was doing my channel and doing this type of EV news, I didn't have a lot of visual stuff up there, and it was very dry and boring. And Nicki from Transport Evolved, you know, piqued my interest, and she said, "Hey, you know, to make a story interesting, because YouTube is a visual medium, and well, we are visual creatures. You need to have something in front of everyone's eyes." And you know, even the guys on Now You know, Zac and Jesse, the editorial team who edit all the videos together, they do a lot of fun stuff with, you know, putting their heads in little funny characters and the like. And all that is just adding to, you know, the enjoyment of bringing the news, which can be pretty cut and dry, because let's face it, we could all just go read stuff ourselves, and you know, it's not that exciting. But when you see it given to you in a different light, in a different way, I think that's what gets people interested in talking, which is what I'm trying to do. So by having media partnerships, you get all the information given to you first of all, and then two, it gives you stuff in which you can actually put up into your videos. So another great tip. All right, how do I collate and sort all this? Well, $1 million question. And what I try to do is on Saturday, I will go through my Twitter stuff for the week, and I will pick out the articles which tend to have an Australian perspective to them, and I will end up with about 20 tabs open, all of which I could talk to. I'll maybe cut some out. I may actually record every single news item, let's say, but then in editing, I'll cut it out anyway, because I just think that, well, one, what I said wasn't that relevant or interesting, or two, the video's getting too long and it wasn't that particularly useful, or it didn't fit the channel. There's many reasons I cut stuff, and as you'll learn later on in other videos, I'll shoot stuff and I'll never publish it, because you know, I think that to produce stuff that I'm proud of and you know that I want you to see, excuse me, is important. And you know, I could be doing stuff every day at a lower quality, but I wouldn't be very happy with that. And it's important to me that what I do I'm proud of. And does that make sense? I'm not really making a lot of sense here, but I believe that, yeah, for the people out there who, you know, just use their phone and do no editing whatsoever and just publish a video every day, you know, well, good on them for, first of all, getting out there and making that effort. But conversely, I think that I don't want to sit through a 20 or 30-minute video to learn something that I could have learnt in about 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever, which is why I do what I do. And hopefully you agree with that. All right, speaking of rambling on, this video is getting a bit rambly, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so I open up a truckload of tabs with all the different articles in them, and then I start to actually sketch out what an episode's going to look like. And typically, I put notes together for everything that I do, and also, if it's a very technical subject with a lot of numbers, I might actually script it. What do those two things look like? Well, here's the start of a script, and this is from last week on the 12th of August. So again, on the Saturday, I will write my notes, write my script, try and shoot on the Saturday. Jenny said it ends up being Sunday actually. And then I will edit on the Sunday, sometimes into the Monday morning, and I'll try to publish it for Monday. Typically YouTube has this algorithm that videos produced at the early start of the week do better than ones at the end of the week. And so that if you get your videos out regularly and you do Monday, Wednesday, and potentially Friday, they're the days that people tend to watch more YouTube than anything else. You just have to go with the flows, don't you? This looks like a bit of a mess here now, just because this has been slowly building over time. And so you can see the countdown there, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I've written welcome, blah, blah, blah. And that's me literally doing my intro to screen. So what I'll do is I'll set up the studio ready to shoot with my auto cue teleprompter. It's a homemade thing. I'll do a separate video on that. And it runs, and I can't control it myself. It just goes all by itself. So I give myself enough time, which is why I use those numbers 4, 3, 2, 1, and you know, just writing blah blah blah, to do my usual introduction, like, hi, my name's Chris, and this show's about, you know, renewable technologies in Australia and sometimes around, you know how it goes. Then I move into the news story. So what I then do is I'll say, okay, well, in this case, why is this Australian regulator suing wind farms? And before I then actually would shoot to camera, I just keep it recording, by the way, I will then have a quick little reminder as to, you know, the key points, and then I'll try and deliver it as succinctly as I can, which can be quite difficult sometimes, especially with these very, very technical issues such as this one. So if I can't just use notes, I then actually write a script. And in the early days of the show, every episode was scripted. And typically it's about 2,000–3,000 words. So I'm reading about 80 words per minute, I think it is. That's the speed on the teleprompter app. And so for 10 minutes, that's roughly 800 words. And as you can imagine, hopefully you may have watched one of my full videos all the way to the end. Maybe you didn't, but no judgment there, I don't mind. But yeah, my typical recording session will last about 1 hour. And then I cut out all those gaps where I'm literally looking at my notes and studying as to what I'm going to say next. And then I deliver it to camera, or I read the script through my teleprompter. If I get it wrong, I have to repeat it again. It's very tiring. This is my script from last week's episode, and that was just on the was it AMO? No, it wasn't AMO. It was AMO. No, AYA. Yeah, AYA. Yeah. Get your terms right, Chris. Suing those 4 wind farm operators in South Australia. And whereas now, here's a bit about bites, and I'm just saying, okay, just pre-read them. And so Nissan EVgo partnership, as you can see there, I've got some information that I need to sort of try and deliver to you guys. And at the end of my delivery, I will then have a bit of an editorial as to I think it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever, and the implications and what it might mean to all of us. And then I go to the next one, rinse and repeat. You get the idea. All right, so that's basically that. And then my last key point here is, after I've written it, and well, I've already spoken about how I shoot it, but sometimes I will write scripts and I never shoot them. Yeah, so I'll give you a bit of a demo. I'm still working on the nuclear power, promises episode. I initially did a very rough draft of that. It was a bit too shallow, not well researched, wasn't happy with it. So I paused and I did other things. I will get back to this, but I need to commit more time and effort to do this right, because I think it's a very significant issue, and this type of video no doubt will get a lot of traction, a lot of views, and I want it to, be a shining light as to what I do and how I do it, and hopefully get some new viewers in. But also, you need to be truthful in what you say. And there's so much fear, uncertainty and doubt that I don't want to put something out there that is incorrect. And there's so much misinformation out there with the interwebs these days, that if someone was to write in the comments about, oh, you're a fool, and it's actually, like I saw on Twitter just the other day, someone is saying how gas and nuclear was cheaper than wind farms and something else. I'm just curious, like, how on earth this guy, I think it's a guy, it might be sexist, but I think it was a guy, how he got his data, how he got his numbers. And when I produce these shows, they're all very much backed up by true and actual facts and data and numbers, and not made up, because again, I don't want to have someone come to me and say, oh, you're what you do is garbage, it's BS. Don't swear in the videos, Chris. Anyway, obviously when I do other videos where I can do a voiceover, they're awesome, because I literally will write a script and I'll use my microphone and I can deliver that quickly and easily. Like literally my voiceover for the last Rogue 1600 video only took me about 12 minutes of voiceover work to the computer. I got rid of all the mistakes and oopsies, or bits where I wasn't very clear with my enunciation. And sometimes having a script is awesome because it saves you time. But the downside is you have to write it, and writing takes time, and writing for doing a verbal presentation is very different to writing an essay. And it's something that I'm still working on, trying to get better, and I know I need to do better. Words like, what's one of my things I'm so, I need to stop saying that, and it's another one I need to stop saying. That they will slip in when I'm reading the teleprompter, because I don't necessarily write them, but goodness knows, it's just automatic like joiners that you use in normal day-to-day conversation. And it's surprising how much you actually will say a particular word. And it's only when you're recording it and re-watching it, you know, and especially watching yourself is terrible, by the way. It's, yeah, it's tiring. It's very tiring. Anyway, I diverge. So scripts that I've abandoned. I've got one here about charging your EV. This I will definitely be shooting next month. My Nissan Leaf loaner from Nissan Australia is going to be happening. So I'm going to do a video on, a bit of a funny video, tongue-in-cheek, about what it is and how you can actually charge your electric vehicle, because again, there's so much misinformation out there. People are like, oh, it's going to cause blackouts in the street, you can't do it, you know, it's too hard, all that garbage that goes on. So I've got a script there ready to go, but I wrote that at the start of July, and here we are mid-August, near the end of August, and I still haven't shot it. Yeah, I reckon that will do. So this video has been about how I prepare for an EV news episode, and just that little bit of preparation that goes into making it. And well, it's only a small fraction of it, but to give you a bit of a volume assessment here, typically I think that, all right, I've read an article, that's 5-10 minutes typically. I come back to it, I reread it, I make notes, that's another 10-20 minutes per article. So let's just round that to like, say, half an hour already. I then shoot it. It's a typical 2-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio. It means to say that for every minute of video that I shoot, I've already shot 2 minutes, or even let's say 5 minutes of video, and I've stuffed up all that. So I had to cut out a lot of it, which you don't ever see, thankfully. And so already, you know, typical shooting time is about 1 hour for about, you know, half a dozen to 10 different stories. And then the editing takes just as long, if not longer. So if I'm going to write a script, just rewinding back a second, if I write a script, that's going to take even longer. It's going to take several hours. So the writing, collating, and getting all the information right is easily 2, 3, or 4 hours. The shooting's at least an hour, and the editing is another 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 hours. So just that one episode of EV News is typically about a day and a half of typical work for an 8-hour day person. Life gets in the way of everything sometimes, and as you'll soon learn later on, you know, even though I've shot on the weekend, which I try to do almost always, and I spread out the editing across the week, getting things out on time is very challenging. But I'll cover that in a separate video. Alright, so again, thank you for your patronage, I really do appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, please do let me know, and hey, be good, be great.